Srila Prabhupada said there is no need to go anywhere else. But you can go somewhere else. But he said there's no need because everything is completely present. By the wonderful potency of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And he was not alone. It's not, when we speak of Srila Prabhupada, we speak of the Guru Parampara, or Gaudiya Vaishnav Acharyas. So when we speak of Srila Prabhupada, there is a complete connection and line. And often when we watch the memories the devotees have of Srila Prabhupada, they say, we thought he would be very tall or big, but he was somewhat smaller than they had expected. But they also say that the power of this smaller person was so much because he was delivering on behalf of the Parampara. So all glories to everyone that is here today, that you have taken your valuable time to come to Krishna Balaram Mandir, and we'll follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps by chanting Jai Radha Madhava together. If I have some voice, I think there might be. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Tighten. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnapada Paramahansa Parivrajikacharya Astottara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shriva Sari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Sisi Radha Krishna Gopinatha Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki, Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So this morning we've been asked to speak about Keshava Kashmiri. As we come up to the time of Gurpurnim, the temple is trying to help us focus on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And this morning we're going to read the verse from the 16th chapter, text number 52. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nahi pade alankara kariyachi shravana tate shloke dekhi bahudosha guna. Nahi pade alankara, please repeat. Kariyachi shravana tate shloke dekhi bahudosha guna. Tahi padi alankara kariyachi sravana. Tate shloke dekhi bahudosha guna. Nipari alankara kariyachi sravana. Mataji's, please. Nahi padi, I do not study. Alankara, the art of literary embellishment. Kariyachi, I have done. Shravana, hearing. Tate, by that. Eshloke, in this verse. Dekhi, I see. Bahu, many. Dosha, faults. Guna, good qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Certainly I have not studied the art of literary embellishments, but I have heard about it from higher circles, and thus I can review this verse and find in it many faults and many good qualities. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This statement, Kari Yachi Shravana, I have heard it, is very important in the sense that hearing is more important than directly studying or perceiving. If one is expert in hearing and hears from the right source, his knowledge is immediately perfect. This process is called Shrutapanta, or the acquisition of knowledge by hearing from authorities. All Vedic knowledge is based on the principle that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and hear from him the authoritative statements of the Vedas. It is not necessary for one to be a highly polished literary man to receive knowledge. To receive perfect knowledge from a perfect person, one must be expert in hearing. This is called the descending process of deductive knowledge, or avaroha panta. Om Gana Tamarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual masters forced me to open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol Panchagoriji. Hare Bol. I so much want to talk about being here before, but it's interesting.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you adjust that again? It's very tricky at the moment, sitting and balancing this and doing the whole... Yeah. I know it's tricky stuff. I can... Yeah. It's okay? No. Is that okay? Okay. So is that tight? Tight. Tight so it doesn't... We always joke about the ISKCON microphone. It's the same worldwide. It always goes...
Like the audience.
Like the audience, yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay, where was I? See, the disturbance she caused, Panchagori is always causing the disturbance. Oh, I'm sorry. Hare Krishna. So yeah, I was just thinking, thinking of so many things as we sit here in Krishna Balaram Mandir. And yet, this story we have to discuss this story of the Keshava Kashmiri. It's such a beautiful pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let's see what we can do to try and continue in Krishna Katha for a little while. Let's then begin. We'll read a little bit from text number, those that have books or devices, text 25. So let's see if we can pick it up there. The focus we can try to keep as we're discussing here would be that Srila Prabhupada has pointed out that the importance of hearing from the bona fide authority, so that may be a pivotal point for me to connect to. Page 25. So this is just after Lord Chaitanya's youthful activities are there, and as he's coming towards the later stage of his youth, around 16 years of age, he's establishing teaching, and he's attracting many young boys to come and hear from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was known at that time as Nimai Pandit. And we're going to pick up the story about Keshava Kashmiri. He conquered a champion of learning named Keshava Kashmiri. Purport. As in the modern day there are, and please see if we can keep the attention. It's actually a really sweet story. As in the modern day there are many champions in sports. So in bygone days there were many learned scholars in India who were champions in learning. One such person was Keshava Kashmiri, who came from the state of Kashmir. He traveled all over India and at last came to Navadvip to challenge the learned scholars there. Unfortunately, he could not conquer the learned scholars in Navadvip, for he was defeated by the boy scholar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, he understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he surrendered unto him and later became a pure Vaishnava in the Sampradaya of Nimbarka. He wrote Koshtubha Prabhu, a commentary on the Vedanta commentary of the Nimbarka Sampradaya, which is known as the Parijata Bhashya. So that gives us a brief indication to Keshava Kashmiri. Continuing to text number 26, and I'll move as quickly as I can. Vrindavan Das Thakur, I'll go straight to the English. Vrindavan Das Thakur has previously elaborately described this. That which is clear need not be scrutinized for good qualities and faults. Offering my obeisances to Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. It's interesting, as we read that, Vrindavan Das Thakur has previously elaborately described this. And Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, that which is clear need not be scrutinized for good qualities and faults. And this whole pastime is about looking for the good qualities and the faults in what's being said. So he picks up the mood of the pastime. So Krishnadas Kaviraj speaking. Offering my obeisances to Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, I shall try to describe that portion of the Lord's analysis which, when he heard it, made the Digvijay feel himself condemned. Once on a full moon night, the Lord was sitting on the bank of the Ganges with his many disciples and discussing literary topics. Coincidentally, Keshava Kashmiri Pandit came there. While offering his prayers to Mother Ganges, he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord received him with adoration, but because Keshava Kashmiri was very proud, he talked to the Lord very inconsiderately. Translation. I understand that you are a teacher of grammar, he said, and that your name is Nimai Pandit. People speak very highly of your teaching of beginning grammar. Purport. Formerly, Sanskrit schools first taught grammar very thoroughly, and this system continues even now. A student was supposed to study grammar carefully for 12 years in the beginning of his life, because if one is expert in the grammar of the Sanskrit language, all the Shastras are open to him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was famous for teaching grammar to students, and therefore Keshava Kashmiri first referred to his position as a teacher of grammar. Keshava Kashmiri was very proud of his literary career. He was far above the first lesson of grammar, and so he thought the position of Nimai Pandit not at all comparable to his own. Translation. I understand that you teach Kalapa Vyakarana. I have heard that your students are very expert in the word jugglery of this grammar. Purport. Srila Prabhupada's purports. There are many schools of grammar in the Sanskrit language, the most famous of which are the systems of Panini and Kalapa and Komodi. I'm just going to go forward. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was famous as Nimai Pandit, taught grammar to his students, who became expert in dealing with the word jugglery of complicated grammar. Almost everyone expert in studying grammar interprets the Shastras in many ways by changing the root meanings of their words. A student of grammar can sometimes completely change the meaning of a sentence by juggling grammatical rules. Keshava Kashmiri indirectly taunted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by implying that although he was a great teacher of grammar, such grammatical jugglery of root meanings did not require great expertise. This was a challenge to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it was prearranged that Keshava Kashmiri would have to discuss the Shastras with Nimai Pandit. From the very beginning, he wanted to bluff the Lord. Thus, the Lord replied as follows. The Lord said, "Yes, I am known as a teacher of grammar, but factually, I cannot impress my students with grammatical knowledge, nor can they understand me very well." Purport. Since Keshava Kashmiri was a little puffed up, the Lord increased his artificial pride by presenting himself to be as subordinate to him. Thus, he flattered him as follows. "My dear sir, whereas you are a very learned scholar in all sorts of scriptures, and are very much experienced in composing poetry, I am only a boy, a new student, and nothing more." Translation. Therefore, I desire to hear your skill in composing poetry. We could hear this if you would mercifully describe the glory of Mother Ganges. Translation. When the Brahmana Keshava Kashmiri heard this, he became still more puffed up. And within 1 hour, he composed 100 verses describing Mother Ganges. The Lord praised him, saying, "Sir, there is no greater poet than you in the entire world. Your poetry is so difficult that no one can understand it but you and Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning." Touche, they say. Touche. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts to hit him back a little bit. Nobody can understand your poetry except for you and Mother Goddess Saraswati. Replying to Keshava Kashmiri sarcastically, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly minimized the value of his poetry by saying, "Yes, your compositions are so nice that no one but you and your worshipable mother, the Goddess of Learning, can understand them." Keshava Kashmiri was a favorite devotee of Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the master of the Goddess of Learning, has the right to speak sarcastically of her devotees. In other words, although Keshava Kashmiri was proud of being favored by the Goddess of Learning, he did not know that she is controlled by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. But if you explain the meaning of one verse, we can all hear it from your own mouth and thus be very happy. Excuse me. Translation. The Digvijay, Keshava Kashmiri, inquired which verse he wanted explained. The Lord then recited one of the 100 verses Keshava Kashmiri had composed. Translation. The greatness of Mother Ganges always brilliantly exists. She is most fortunate because she emanated from the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. She is a second goddess of fortune, and therefore she is always worshipped both by demigods and by humanity. Endowed with all wonderful qualities, she flourishes on the head of Lord Shiva. Sounds pretty okay. Doesn't seem to be any fault there, possibly, for most of us. And we understand in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes that Swarup Damodar was expert in being able to analyze very quickly what was being presented to be read or heard by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he would be able to understand. So it appears that there may be something to be pointed out. When Lord Chaitanya, translation, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him to explain the meaning of this verse, the champion, very much astonished, inquired from him as follows. "I recited all the verses like a blowing wind. How could you completely learn by heart even one among those verses? The Lord replied, by the grace of the Lord, someone may become a great poet, and similarly, by the Lord's grace, someone else may become a great Shrutidar, who can memorize anything immediately. Purport. In this connection, Shrutidar is a very important word. Shruti means hearing, and Dara means one who can capture. Formerly, before the beginning of Kali Yuga, almost everyone, especially amongst the intelligent men, the Brahmanas, was a Shrutidar. As soon as a student heard any of the Vedic wisdom from his master, he would remember it forever. There was no need to refer to books, and therefore there were no written books in those days. Interesting, just a side point. I live in a country called New Zealand at this time in my life, and there's a culture there called Maoris, the Maori from tribal people there. And they have the same system in their ancient teachings, that they had their own type of gurukula, and the king's sons and the most sort of strongest of the tribes and all, they would go to those places and they would hear and they would retain the knowledge. So it's, the reason I'm mentioning it just shows, so we read this and we could think, oh, this is doubtful that people could do this. But in other places, even in a far-off flung place like New Zealand, some remnant there of that system of being able to do that. But we are told that people thousands of years ago were heathens and couldn't understand much at all. The choice is ours to place our faith in where we want to place it. Continuing, to become a Shrutidar, one who can remember simply by hearing, is a great achievement for a student. In the Bhagavad Gita 10:41, the Lord says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sarvam srimad urjatam eva va tattad eva vagachatvam mamatejo amsasambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. End quote. As soon as we find anything extraordinary, we should understand that such an extraordinary manifestation is the special grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied to the champion, Keshava Kashmiri, that just as he was greatly proud of being a favorite devotee of Mother Saraswati, so someone else, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, being favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could become a Shrutidar and thus memorize anything immediately simply by hearing it. Translation. Satisfied by the statement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Brahmana, Keshava Kashmiri, explained the quoted verse. Then the Lord said, now kindly explain the special qualities and faults in this verse. Purport. Not only did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pick out this one among the 100 verses and remember it, although the Brahmana had recited them like the blowing wind, but he also analyzed its qualities and faults. Can you imagine how fast that was? You can't imagine. Yeah? It's a little bit like AI. Everyone's talking about AI. You can't imagine how. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not artificial intelligence. He's the source of all intelligence. So the speed that he can function at is inconceivable. So in a moment he's able to, not even a moment. Continuing, 46. Yeah, a couple of more verses. The Brahmana replied, there is not a tinge of fault in that verse. Rather, it has the good qualities of similes and alliteration. Purport. In the last line of the verse quoted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the letter Bha is repeated many times, as in the words Bhavani, Bhartur, Vibhavati, and Adbhuta. Such repetition is called anuprasha, or alliteration. The words Lakshmir Iva and Vishnu's Charana Kamalotpati are instances of Upama Alankara, for they exhibit metaphorical beauty. The Ganges is water and Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune. Since water and a person are not actually similar, the comparison is metaphorical. Translation. The Lord said, "My dear sir, I may say something to you if you will not become angry. Can you explain the faults in this verse?" Translation. There is no doubt that your poetry is full of ingenuity, and certainly it has satisfied the Supreme Lord. Yet, if we scrutinizingly consider it, we can find both good qualities and faults. The Lord concluded, "Now, therefore, let us carefully scrutinize this verse." The poet replied, "Yes, the verse you have recited is perfectly correct." He continues, "You are an ordinary student of grammar. What do you know about literary embellishments? You cannot review this poetry because you do not know anything about it." Purport. Keshava Kashmiri first warned to bluff Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by saying that since he was not an advanced student of literary style, he could not review a verse full of metaphors and literary ornaments. This argument has some basis in fact. Unless one is a medical man, he cannot criticize a medical man. And unless one is a lawyer, he cannot criticize a lawyer. Therefore, Keshava Kashmiri first deprecated the Lord's position. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to the champion a student of grammar, how could he dare criticize a great poet like him? Lord Chaitanya therefore criticized the poet in a different way. He said that although he was certainly not advanced in a literary career, he had heard from others how to criticize such poetry. And as a Shrutidar possessing a complete memory, he could understand the process for such a review. Translation. Taking a humble position, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Because I am not on your level, I have asked you to teach me by explaining the faults and good qualities in your poetry." Continuing, "Certainly I have not studied the art of literary embellishments, but I have heard about it from higher circles, and thus I can review this verse and find in it many faults and many good qualities." And we'll pause there for a few moments. Excuse me. Don't think this won't happen to you. This morning I was here at the Mandi and my wife had said to me, "Oh, you can just stay. You come from the Mongol Arti, so just stay and give the class." And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. And I got to the Mongol Arti, and then my mucus was completely overwhelming me. I had bag, I had this, that, and I thought, I'm an old man. Prabhupada used to say like that in 1969 when he came to America. He said, "I'm simply an old man." I thought, I'm 70, nearly 5, and I'm an old man. You can't do. So I thought, take responsibility. I felt like a complete victim. I felt, this and that. And then I've been told, I've heard that you should take responsibility. It's the greatest thing you can ever do in your life for everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all, we take responsibility. So I thought, I'm out of here. Actually, I thought, I got to go to Prabhupada's room. So I thought, I've got to get shelter somehow. So I got to Prabhupada's room and I had to force my way in because it wasn't open, and I was so brash. I said, I got to come in. Gosh, it reminds me of so many pastimes. I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I had that pastime with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I came to see Srila Prabhupada in 1977, about a month before Prabhupada left. And I went to his room and Tamal was there. He said, "No one's seeing Srila Prabhupada." I said, "I got to see Srila Prabhupada." I was about 20-something, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj was right there at the entrance to the guest house. He said, "No one's seeing Srila Prabhupada." I said, but I've got to say he's my guru. There's a whole story to this. I'll tell it some other time. But anyway, I'll tell it some other time. So this morning I thought, here I am again trying to force my way into Prabhupada's room. I said to the young devotee, I said, please just let me in. Just let me in. I'll not make a disturbance, I promise. I'll just sit in the corner. And I managed to get in. And then I'm in there, and I lasted for about 2 rounds. And I was too hot, and I was too sore, and I was sitting in the wrong place. I thought, I got to get out of here. So I went back to my room, and then I had enough facility to be able to spit out whenever I had to and play Prabhupada chanting to bring me back into some kind of... Have you ever had this kind of experience where you're in Maya? And it's not that easy to get out of Maya sometimes. But the good news is it's possible. Yeah? It is possible by constant practice and detachment. It takes us to Bhagavad Gita, doesn't it? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadriham tasyaham nigraham mani vayure pachatuskritam. I think it's too difficult to control the mind. And Krishna didn't say, no, it's really easy. He said, no, yes, what you're saying is true, Arjuna. It is undoubtedly very difficult, but it is possible. How is it possible? By constant practice and detachment. So we can continue. So that came from somewhere, Krishna, Krishna. So we've got this story of the Digvijay Pandit. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking him to explain the faults. He's saying there are no faults, and who are you? You're only a boy. And therefore the story continues. Any comments at this point? I'll pause for a comment as I move forward to find what the next... If you have anything that's there that you'd like to share for a few seconds, not a whole Bhagavatam class, but if you just have some reflection. Okay, good. Okay.
I want to hear more.
Okay. So where were we? We're going to pause there because it gets into a lot of very detailed explanation, which I can hardly even pronounce. Fortunately, Srila Prabhupada was able to deliver I was thinking of that a little earlier, the Kirata Hunanda Palinta Pulkasha, all the fallen persons, all the malechas. Which brings me to another subject. Wow, so many. We have such a task. I won't get a chance to speak very much, so I better speak once. Maybe that will be the last time. But we have such a challenge before us. Srila Prabhupada's disciples are getting so old, it's not funny. We're getting quite old, and there's not that far to go from many. Yeah. And we all know that. The young ones say, well, yeah, they're disappearing like that. And the amazing task we have in front of us is to somehow train the devotees how to carry the mantle of Srila Prabhupada's instructions, which are provided in his books. It's not an easy thing. There's another place in Bhagavatam where Srila Prabhupada says that one should not be envious of God brothers who are more advanced than ourselves. And I took that to heart, and I thought, yes, it's such an important instruction. Manushyanam sahasrishu kasyat yatiti siddhaye. Out of many thousands of persons, hardly one will attain perfection. Out of thousands of God brothers and God sisters, 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, whatever number will attain the perfection. So when we see that perfection, or sparkles of perfection, or good qualities, we should be very pleased to see it and to be and to encourage them and pray fervently for their protection so that they can carry this on. It's not an easy task. And I'll go a little further. Mainly our society has become Indian. We all know it. It's the elephant in the room, so to speak. It's very, all over the world we go, there is the Indian devotees. And they're wonderful. And there's a few white elephants around. There's not a lot of them. and very few little baby elephant white ones are coming along. It's hard in the West. You see there's a few centers are managing to present Krishna consciousness in a way which is relatable for them, and that they can see a way to come into this Krishna consciousness and move on in their lives. So those great souls who are carrying this mantle of how, as Srila Prabhupada did, he went and he preached, and we were listening, my wife and I, to a Prabhupada's letters, and Brahmananda was there in Africa, and Srila Prabhupada came to Africa, and they were discussing, and Srila Prabhupada said, we must preach to the Africans. There are so many Indians in Africa, and the Indian people will always come. They've always been, they'll always come because they're wonderful. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, they may come, but we have to present things in a way that the African people will come, and the Kiwis in New Zealand, and the Americans in America. So this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, so important. Otherwise, in Srila Prabhupada in different places he's mentioned that our movement will be hijacked, and it will go in some direction which is very similar, possibly, hopefully, but it's so dangerous to hear. Prabhupada said to hear. So I'll go to that part of the purport again, if I can find where I am. Sorry, I've gone forward. I want to go back. 52. I'll just read it again. Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly I have not studied the art of literary embellishments, but I have heard about it from higher circles, and thus I can review this verse and find in it many faults and many good qualities. Srila Prabhupada's purport once more. The statement, what time is it? Sorry, help. Okay, we got a few minutes. I'll just go straight to the part I'm thinking. It's very important in the sense that hearing is more important than directly studying or perceiving. So many people can study Bhagavatam. So many people can recite Bhagavatam inside out, upside down. And we think, who are we? And obviously we're nothing in comparison to the Digvijay Pandit. So you could find so many people in Vrindavan, they can come and they can sit and they can recite Bhagavatam, as I'm saying, in so many ways. But Srila Prabhupada said, if you hear something, one word you hear different from what I'm presenting, you will become confused. Just like when we heard Keshava Kashmiri's statement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, please explain this verse. And he explained it. And for most of us, we think, it's a pretty good explanation. How can we find anything there? So again, spinning this idea, those devotees who have the ability, who are studied, and I'm not one of them. I was going to say I pride myself, and then I thought, no, I shouldn't say that. But actually I do. I pride myself that I'm not one of them. So even a penny, if you can get what I'm saying, even a pauper is proud of his penny. So I'm not a studious kind of person. I never read books at all before I met the devotees. I was too busy doing things. I thought people that read books, why don't they do something instead of sitting reading? That was my Siddhanta. But there are very, very serious devotees. And we understand there's Kanishta, there's Madhyam and Uttam. So we have 1 or 2 or 6 or 10 or whatever number who are definitely Madhyam and are pushing. They're pushing in a beautiful way, in a gentle way, in a loving way, in a surrendered way to become Uttama Bhaktas, to become completely absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's presentation of Krishna consciousness. I have to say it that way. And if we can do that, this movement will expand on and on and on, and the purity will not be lost. All Vedic knowledge is based on the principle that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and hear from him the authoritative statements of the Vedas. So those persons will be known, I'm suggesting, it's just a suggestion. These are just not the absolute truth, what I'm saying, I'm just making some suggestions. So I'm suggesting that those persons will be so attached to Srila Prabhupada that you'll feel it, you'll smell it, you'll taste it, you'll be able to know that this person and what they're saying is fully connected to Srila Prabhupada. Those persons we should take full shelter of, and you'll get the genuine article. It's so easy to get 99%, 8, 7, 6, and like that. And pray. We pray. I'm going to share. Oh gosh, yes, I will share. A few minutes. Keshava Swami, Swami Bhagavan, Keshava Swami. I was looking. I don't know. This is old cynical disciples and stuff. I was looking, somewhere on the side of the computer. I'm not good at that at all, computers. But anyway, I saw this face and I saw the name. This was 3 or 4 years ago, just when he took sannyas, and I saw Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami in this handsome young man, and I thought, oh my God, no, why are they doing this, giving sannyas to such a handsome young man, He's only 42, my God. And I was thinking like that, and I thought, gee, why are they doing this? But anyway, and I thought, I should look and see what they're presenting, something. A little critical, but I thought, I'll check it out. And when I checked it out, I thought, wow, he's pretty cool. I thought, he seems to have a Prabhupada mood so much. And then I watched, and I've watched hundreds of his videos. I don't watch shorts, I only watch videos. So I've watched hundreds and hundreds. He's one of my go-tos, a go-to, so I go to him. And Vaisheshika Prabhu, I go to him also. I'm not a book distributor. I have distributed a few in the old days, but I thought I should check him out. And somehow I stumbled across at some stage, and then I thought, wow. And then I can say from the bottom of my heart, these men that I've just mentioned, and there's a few others. Radhika Raman Prabhu is another person. Radhika Raman, Indian devotee, child prodigy, got his PhD. His PhD was written on Jiva Goswami. He wrote a PhD on Jiva Goswami. And he describes the Srimad Bhagavatam so beautifully. And he's been a devotee all his life. He learned how to speak English by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. His mother trained him through reading Bhagavatam. So these are a few. There's a few others, and I'm sure many of the devotees, you have your go-to people that inspire you. That's one of the benefits of modern technology, if there is. Prabhupada was not an enemy of technology. He utilized it. So one of the great benefits of the technology, don't get caught on scrolling all the time. Just scroll down as far as you have to go to get where you need to go, and press the button and get connected to those great souls who are still here and available and able to connect us to Srila Prabhupada. And pray for them with great sincerity and love. Give them your love. And when Krishna sees that we are giving love and accepting love, then this movement will become sweeter and sweeter. Keshava Swami was saying, he said, well, if I had any fault, he said, I love the way he's so humble as well. He's so powerful and wonderful, but humble as well. He said, I'm part of that too. If there's any fault in ISKCON, that is that we've not looked after our people as well as we should. We have to become like kind grandfathers, and especially mention grandmothers. The ladies should be seen as grandmothers and full of love and to be appreciated, and the old men also like that. So society, And you're getting the full package. That's about all I can possibly say, but the last part of the package is relationships. My wife and I present seminars. We're here in Vrindavan. Next, I can hardly talk anymore. Next week we will be presenting some seminars on relationships. We call it, it's called, the seminar, funny. The first seminar on Grihastha life was called The Hopes and Horrors of Household Life. It was. I spoke to the author the other week. We were talking online, and we're very good friends. And the next presentation on Grihastha life was practically equally dismal, but it was an upgrade from the first one. It was called Survival in the Grihastha Ashram. Haribo. And then I was listening a few weeks back to...
Was it a comedy?
That was a tragic comedy. Oh boy. And then Burjan Prabhu came to me when we were living here in Vrindavan, and he said, Prabhu, why don't you present a seminar on Grihastha life? I thought, wow. And we talked for a while, and we presented a seminar called Success in the Grihastha Ashram. And I thought it was a simple title because Srila Prabhupada said there are 4 ashrams. Brahmachari ashram. Do we want to be successful in the Brahmachari ashram? Does this one want successful Brahmachari ashram? Say yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we want a successful. Vanaprasthas, we'd love to see some good Vanaprasthas. Yeah, they renounce it all and stuff. Yay, who wants successful Vanaprasthas? Yes. Sannyas, we want successful sannyasis who are strong in their vows. Yes, yes. Grihasthas, you don't want... And Gauranga Prabhu, who's in charge of the temple there in Chaupati, I was listening to him. He was making a presentation in England at the Manor, at a festival there. And I used to say in our seminars, I used to say, come on, 90% are going to be Grihasthas. Let's be realistic about that. So he, as a senior brahmachari and preacher, he said in his presentation, he said 99.9% will be Grihasthas. And I thought, Haribol, someone's knocked it on the head. 99.99, I'm going to add. It's just the way it is, folks. And there's lots to learn. Boy, if you want to learn humility, wow, become a Grihastha. You're going to learn it quick. Trinada Pisanichena. Okay, I'm done. And I'm sure you're done too. Keshava. Oh gosh, I didn't even finish the story. Stay tuned. I'm going to give it tomorrow morning to... I'm joking. Okay, I've got to wrap it. Thanks, Pancha. Yeah, I know the story. Okay, now how can we wrap... Okay, I'm going to wrap it up by some note down here.
You don't need to read this. This verbal. Speaking from the heart.
Oh gosh. The heart's black. Let me get to the computer. It's over here, Punch. I think I can... Oh, boy, what happened? What happened here, folks?
That means you got to do it by yourself.
I have something here, so don't worry. Okay. Okay, I think we can just... Yeah, okay. There might be a little repetition, but don't worry. During this time, a great Kashmiri scholar named Keshava Kashmiri came to Navadvip to hold meetings on the discourses of the Shastras. Kashmira Pandit was a champion scholar. He had traveled all the places of learning in India. At last, he came to Navadvip to contest the learned Pandits there. The Pandits of Navadvip decided to put forward Nimai Pandit, Lord Chaitanya, before the Kashmiri Pandit, thinking it wise, if Nimai Pandit was defeated, they would have another chance with a plea that Nimai Pandit was only a boy. And if the Kashmiri Pandit was defeated, then they would be more glorified because people will know that a boy, a boy of Navadvip defeated such a champion scholar of all India repute. So they were pretty tricky Pandits. And it also happened that Nimai Pandit met the Kashmiri Pandit while strolling on the bank of the Ganges. The Lord requested the Kashmiri Pandit to compose a Sanskrit verse in praise of the Ganges, and the Pandit within a short time composed over 100 slokas, as we heard. He recited the verses in a storm. Nimai Pandit once took by heart all the slokas without deviation of one line. He quoted the 64th sloka and pointed out some deficiencies in the rhetoric and the irregularities. He particularly pointed out one word, Bhavani Bharta, and pointed out that this word conveys opposite meaning. Bharani means the wife of Shiva, and who else can be her Bharta or husband? In this way, he pointed out several discrepancies in one sloka, and the Kashmiri Pandit was struck with wonder. He was astonished as to how a student of grammar could point out such literary mistakes as an erudite scholar. The matter was ended prior to any public meeting, and the news was spread all over Navadvip like wildfire. At last, Keshava Kashmiri was ordered in a dream. So if we read that section, we'll find that Keshava Kashmiri had a dream, and he was ordered by the goddess of learning to submit before the Lord. And the Kashmiri Pandit became a follower of the Lord. He actually became a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Nimai Pandit. So if you want to read the intricate details of that, you know the chapter 16. Continue on from verses 52 forward for about 40 verses, and you'll have the whole story, all the details. What do you think? It's okay.
You can give a little trailer of the horrors of family life.
I'm sorry?
You can give a little trailer of the horrors of family life.
Once you go to saying, I can give a little trailer of the horrors of family life. Oh, yeah, my wife's not here right now, so I suppose I could, couldn't I? Unfortunately, everything is recorded, so I didn't mean anything, Mataji. You can't call your wife Mataji, sorry. Not allowed. Oh, Krishna. You've got to keep a sense of humor. So that's one important instruction. Whether you're brahmachari ashram, you need a sense of humor. Yes? Because it gets quite wild, huh? Oh boy. This Keshava Swami was saying that he said as the brahmachari there in Bhaktivedanta Manor, he would find a spot on the floor, but you become possessive of the spot. That's my spot. And he said he was hoping, because he said, I took the spot which was right next to the Bhagavatam set, the Bhagavatam books, and he said, I was right there, and he said, I thought, if I'm able to sleep with my head to the, all download. And I think he was right. Seemed to. So, yes, the preview, the dates will be going up. Poster will go up, yeah, in a day or two. And if you'd like to come along to that, you're most welcome to come along. There's no charge. In the conference hall. Over the next week. We're here for this week. So, I can't give you much more of a trailer. Any reflections, please, on anything we've been discussing? If you have, please feel free.
We also like to end at 9.
Oh, and we also like to end at 9, and it's a great time to end. It's actually 3 minutes past. I was told if it gets to 5 past, they take a big hook and they pull you off. So we can finish there. Please accept my humble apologies. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.